Welcome, everybody, to our podcast. It's good to be back.
Good to be here. It's been a couple weeks.
I'm so delighted.
Me too.
Aaron's here.
Me too. It's my therapy.
We're unfolding
Yeah.
and unpacking
Definitely.
what is and what isn't.
Yes, sir.
And we have our chief engineer and architect of all good things, Levi, there in the back.
Wonderful, Levi. Thank you.
And we appreciate that, and we appreciate all of you being here.
Very much.
So there's a topic.
Yes, there is. Yes, I love this topic. But I love all your topics. I don't know. And I'm not just blowing sunshine either.
Okay, it's not my topic. But we were going to talk about apathy. And it's connected to the Exodus, which is in the midst of what we're dealing with right now. Pharaoh, that was one of his big things. Apathy, just disconnect. And I know you've been mulling over this for a while. You want to share a little bit about what you got?
Well, thinking about it with Pharaoh in particular, what came to mind first was protection, apathy as it relates to protection. And, if you don't care about something, no one can hurt you in that area, right? Only when you care about something can that be taken away from you. So to me, apathy is like the ultimate defense, right?
Could be seen as such.
Right. Because if I don't care, then you can't hurt me in that way. But it's a double-edged sword though, right? Because if I don't care, then I don't care. Caring is like everything. So that to me, that part of you dies.
So when you're saying it, I'm thinking of this. You don't want to be hurt by others, so you go and hurt yourself.
Exactly. In order, if I destroy it first, you can't destroy it.
Yes.
Then you're screwed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but understanding that the pain of apathy is different than the pain of being hurt.
Sure.
Because one's like an open wound, one's alive, and the other one is just complete disconnect. But when a person is apathetic, there's a general, like a movement towards giving up on life.
Right.
And in the Alter Rebbe and Tanya, which I know you've been studying Tanya a lot.
Very much so.
What chapter are you holding?
I'm all over. I just go back and forth and rewind, and it's just a lot to take in.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So the Alter Rebbe and Tanya speaks about how when you're apathetic, when you get up to pray, and there's just nothing there.
Yes. And you don't have the connector. You're not praying with simcha.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
And immediately, what am I going to do? And you're going through the motions, and he speaks about that as like a problem.
Yes.
In other words, you got to stop what you're doing and break out of that. Because when we stop, I know I get a lot of flack for saying this in a New York accent, when we stop caring.
Or swearing.
When we stop caring, we become slugs. We become like just anything goes that will make us feel a little better in that moment. It's usually materialistic. It's usually temporary, and then we don't care enough to like really break ourselves out of it.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard. It's hard to constantly care.
It is. But I think people say they don't care, but I think people, when they say they don't care, they care enough to say they didn't care. You know what I mean? So I think it's almost like an escape for people. You know what I mean? Well, I don't care. I don't care about that. Yeah, you do. You do. Come on. You know what I mean? Caring, I think I said it to you earlier. To me, caring is like the power grid of the universe, because everything is based on it. Literally, if you think about it, everything is based on caring. The reason we're here is because we care. Literally, the reason we're here is because God cares.
Yeah.
It's even a rule that applies to God. It's even a rule that applies to Hashem. Because in order for him to do all this stuff, he has to care. He has to choose it.
He created that rule.
He created the rule, but
to now work
with it. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the crucial thing is, I mean, there's a time and place when I know I've had to do this several times. I'll never forget. I was a young teenager, and I wanted to go to a certain yeshiva. And it was like my friends were going, and everybody was going, and this is the place I really wanted to go, etc. And for whatever reason, my dad said no. And I remember I was beside myself. I was crying. I was just, I couldn't, inconsolable. And my brother calls me over, older brother, and he's like, okay, this is what you're going to do right now. You're going to take some money. You're going to go down the street. You're going to go buy yourself ice cream.
Nah. Ice cream.
Ice cream. And you're going to get the best ice cream that they have there. And you're going to just eat it and enjoy it. In other words, there are times when, within nature, we need to just I need to stop caring right now because the energy that's going on, and this happens also a lot of times with the kids, right? It just, sometimes, especially when let's say at the end, when I pick them all up from school, and they all have 1,000 things to tell me at that moment, and I realize that just the way I'm wired, my head's going to explode.
Sure. But is that apathy or is that just checking?
So I kind of, I literally, I go into this silent mode. I say the best thing I can do at that moment is to be as silent as possible.
Sure.
So it's not apathy, but it's like a subtle disconnect.
Sure, of course. And I think disconnect's important. I think disconnect is one of the most powerful things we can do. I think you mentioned it in your sermon this past Shabbos, the basketball player. And when he realizes he's not in the game, he's not doing his thing. He has to disconnect from himself, from his ego, from what makes him him, and pass it on.
Right.
Right. That's a disconnect. I think disconnected can be used. It's not that he doesn't care that he's not playing well. He cares.
Yeah.
But he has to disconnect from it because it's not for the best thing.
So I think that's a perfect difference. When we intentionally disconnect, it's not that, one thing is apathy is because it all doesn't matter anyway.
Right. Exactly.
What's the difference?
Exactly. Yeah, we're disconnected because we care.
Exactly.
We're disconnected because we care.
Because it all matters.
Yes,
And I know
yes,
I don't have what it takes to bring it.
Yes.
Then I need to, and that's a warranted vacation. That's a warranted time break. That's a warranted, I'm going to step out and I'm going to stop caring for these 10 minutes about this because it's too important.
It's too important. You care too much about it.
Right.
You care too much about the bigger picture in order to be involved in this way in the smaller picture that you really kind of are screwed with. You're stuck with.
So you need to step out.
You have to step out because you care.
That's fantastic.
Opposite of apathy.
So what the Alter Rebbe speaks about when a person's really in it, real apathy.
Yeah.
Where nothing matters, it makes no difference. And this has it really, it goes into us very deep. We start doubting, does God even exist? Right? And then is the Torah even true?
Right.
And what the heck? And there's this huge shift in the way we look at ourselves, we look at life, we look at truth, and everything starts looking very, very different. And the Alter Rebbe says, you can't ride that wave. Right. That wave it goes over a waterfall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It becomes the cornerstone of depression.
Right.
Really.
So he speaks about, if I remember correctly, he speaks about giving yourself a little pep talk.
Okay.
Hey, who do you think you are?
Oh, put yourself in your place.
Because I know, when I'm in that place where I just stop caring, and then something happens that's concerning, very concerning. The kids, this, that.
Right.
All of a sudden, you're back online in a second. Right. It's usually it takes some type of anticipated emergency or whatever it is, and all of a sudden you're completely all over it.
Right. You're jarred back into it. Right.
And then we're there, and then we're fine. And the Alter Rebbe says you could do that to yourself.
Oh wow. Kind of restart yourself.
Yeah.
Without having an outside influence.
And he says there, this comes onto another topic, and that's using foul language. Not supposed to use foul language. Have you ever heard me use foul language?
Ever?
No, and sometimes I tell people, I say, look, if you found me another word that would adequately express in a cleaner way what I'm trying to communicate,
Yeah,
I would use it.
I'll use it.
But this is the only word that really tells you what I'm thinking.
Right. It's English, for God's sake. I mean,
It's in the dictionary.
we only have so much to work with.
And it's a whole topic like, so is it the word? It's the sentiment. Is it not good to have that sentiment? But you look at like people working out or in the gym or whatever, and there's when you're in it, you're fighting yourself at the limit, and you can easily fall into fatigue and apathy, like in a momentary way, like because you're pushing yourself so much and you're going to the edge. Your body would want to just pull back and say, I don't care.
Right,
and at that moment, you're lost. So the trainers and the people that are teaching you at that point, they're cursing you out.
Yeah.
You lazy bum. You're like Mickey by Rocky, right?
Rocky, yeah.
You schmuck, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll use the Yiddish ones. We're going to keep it clean. But like, you get out there, right? You go after it.
Right.
And I always was like, I'm a rabbi, and you shouldn't use those words, but I see how, like, in certain contexts, in certain places, this feels like the word.
That's it.
It feels like the most helpful, communicative thing that you could say. It feels honest.
Then it's coming from a good place.
And then it occurred to me what the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya. He says, what should you do? He says, you should curse yourself out. And he says, Atara, Rasha, Meshuketz, Metuev, you're disgusting, you're a menuvel. If I remember correctly, and he says, you should curse out your animalistic soul.
Yes, I've been using that.
And say, until when are you going to stand in the way of this godly soul that wants to just blow up and connect with its purpose, with Hashem, with the world, with his brothers and sisters? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And as I'm thinking, and I'm reading that section of Tanya, I'm saying, I never met the Alter Rebbe.
Right.
I met the Rebbe. I can't imagine them ever talking this way.
Right, it's not cussing, like yelling.
Saying those
even
words,
getting upset.
but
like
he's
that.
literally saying it in Tanya, writing it out, that's what you should say.
Right. So he has to think about it. He has to be thinking.
He's actually telling you to use those words because that's what's going to get you out of it.
Well, because he knows we're not tzaddikim. Right?
Because he knows that that's what works when you don't care. It's like that jarring experience.
Right.
It's the shock element.
Mm-hmm. The slap in the face. Slap yourself in the face.
Yes. Yeah. But he's not putting you like when a trainer is doing that to you, you know, if he's a good trainer, you know he's got your back. You know he wants the best in you.
Course,
right? It'll be foolish to at one point turn around to the trainer and say, why are you screaming at me? You know, you're just like speaking down at me and you're calling me names. It's like, dude.
He's pushing you to be your best.
Forget it, right? And it's clear there's a direct understanding. So it's not the kind of thing so when you use foul language to literally just put somebody else down, that's one thing.
Yeah.
When you're doing it because you identify the fact that there's a part in them that's grown smug and it's covering over their greatest potential.
It's constructive.
It's constructive. It's redeeming.
It is.
It's going out of Mitzrayim.
It's showing you care. I think. It's going out of Mitzrayim.
And that's what the Alter Rebbe says. But what we're going to do is we're going to speak to the animal soul and give it that pep talk and say, let the godly soul shine. So the person walks away and says, wow, I'm ready to get back there. I'm ready to enter back in.
They're not defeated. Mm-hmm. Because if you do it the other way, they're defeated, right?
Yeah.
And then there's resentment and all that stuff's built up.
So the key thing is, when a person is apathetic, first of all, understand that it's not them. It's their animalistic soul that kind of got enlarged and covered over the heartbeat of their godly soul. That's what apathy is. Apathy is the animalistic soul kind of tapping into all the microphones and just start blaring its opinion everywhere. And at that point, the godly soul is silenced. It's feeling very, very oppressed.
So the Nefesh Elokis cannot be apathetic.
Exactly.
I don't think it's possible. Right?
Exactly.
It can't be.
So one of the things that happens in apathy is so we don't care. And then we care enough to put ourselves down on the fact that we don't care.
Right.
And that's not true.
Right.
We do care.
We do care. We do care.
Don't buy into the apathy that right now I'm feeling like I don't care about stuff. That's very different than I don't care.
Right. Right.
That's just not true. You
Right.
care.
Right.
And I could show you care. You know, something jarring will happen. Where did that come online? How did that happen? All of a sudden you started caring.
Right.
You've always cared. But what happened? You got a feeling right now as if you don't care. Okay. Maybe you need to get some sleep. Maybe you're exhausted. Because we all know you care. This is the truth. Right. This is the godly soul that's there.
So that's actually your Yetzer Hara, or telling you don't care, telling you it's overwhelming, telling you it's too much, telling you can't take anymore.
Yeah. And one of the things that the Alter Rebbe really tries to do in Tanya is to isolate the animal soul from the godly soul, that we realize that this is a state that we're currently in because our animal soul is what I'm working with right now. It's not who I am. It's not the entire picture, right? How I feel now, this is how I always felt, this is what I'm always going to feel, etc. It's just not true.
Right. These ultimatums that it gives us, and these eternal things that it gives us. It's always going to be this way, you know. I know for me, it's beat down my godly soul for many years, and now I'm feeling it come back. I'm feeling the Nefesh Elokis coming back, and it's such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing to acknowledge the fact that the Yetzer Hara is there. Because for so long it was there and it ruled my life, and I was so mad at it because I knew in my inside it wasn't the right thing. I knew I wasn't doing the right thing. I knew it because the godly soul's in there, you know.
It's not resonating.
Right, it's not resonating, but I didn't know how to stop. And I think a lot of the reason I didn't stop was because I kept denying that. I kept saying, you don't exist, you don't exist. I kept trying to push it to the side, you know, and trying to kill it. Thinking that there's a way that I can kill it completely.
Yeah.
And being frustrated with myself that I can't. And that frustration just snowballs.
So there's the new terms these days is my nervous system. Are you familiar with this? Maybe it's not new, but I've just gotten into this whole this whole psychology.
Nervous system.
Where a lot of people are like, my nervous system is reacting right now. And what does that mean, huh?
Your nervous system always reacting?
Yeah, well, it's basically like a trigger. You know, something happens. Somebody says the thing that when they say that, I go to that place. And I'm right away reacting from that place. And then I'm angry, or I'm blaming, or I'm defensive, and all the other good, exciting things that we do to break down in communication and to be completely not productive.
Right.
And if we could say, instead of saying, I'm being reactive, and you know, my nervous system is really hijacking me right now. So, and if I could see the other person saying, like, it's not them, their nervous system has taken them over.
Right.
If I could see that, I'm not as afraid of it. I could reach them a little bit better. It's not as daunting, and I think it's exactly what we're saying about apathy. It's like, of course this person cares. I've seen it 1,000 times. That's the real story. It's so important to have friends who we can go to, who can remind us that that's who we are. And I said I wasn't going to cry.
Same, right? Stop it. True.
But that's one of the key things, because what happens is we forget who we are.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Either when we fall into apathy or defeat or exhaustion. I mean, whatever angle it's coming from. What happened was we forgot who we are. And when we do it long enough, we start buying our own BS.
We do.
And to be able to have a friend who knows how to be the friend at that moment, and says, dude, you're tired.
Yeah.
But I'm not buying any of the other stuff that you're trying to sell me, because you know you could try to sell yourself out, but I'm not in on it.
It's one of the things I love about you, and the fact that you come from Brooklyn. They call it a Sigma personality.
Sigma?
You've heard this?
No.
Yeah, it's where you can't not say what you feel. If you don't say what you see, it starts eating you up inside.
Yeah, I got you.
That's you. Beautiful.
My personality has a title. I'm good with it.
Yeah. It's
Sigma. It
Sigma.
sounds
Look
good.
it up. Look it up. Yeah.
But I think this is redemption. So to be mindful, and this, sometimes we're apathetic and we don't care about the fact that we don't care. In other words, we don't even notice we're just going through life and our emotions.
Yeah.
And it shows up like 5 days in, and whoa.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you can barely get through the basic things because it's the power grid. That's why I love that example that you gave. It's the source of life. I thought about apathy. It's like, sometimes there's a virus in the computer. I was thinking about this in relation to something else, but sometimes you find out that you're on your laptop and you see like there's something downloading, or you're worried that there's a virus. What's the first thing you can do? Just unplug it.
Turn it off. Right.
Right?
Oh.
Take it offline.
That's good. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Okay. We took it offline,
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes that's necessary.
Right.
Usually in life, I say the best type of renovation is it happens while you're still living there.
Oh, right. That makes sense.
It's like the best context to work on a marriage is while you're married.
Yeah.
The best context to work on raising children is while you're raising children. And the best context to work on self-improvement is while you're actively engaged in life. You're not going to do a good job by going offline and completely. But sometimes the system is attacking you so severely that you need to just unplug.
Yeah, exactly. Just remember where the outlet is so you can plug back in.
Right. So there's a lot of mindfulness that needs to happen. And I think one of the powers of prayer, of davening, I don't know the word prayer, it's in English, tefillah. What we try to do every single morning is connect. It's a way of our gauging. I always feel like the way we see God is the way we see everything else. And what I mean by that is that if I don't feel like God's very real, when I'm not feeling God is something firm, I'm not feeling like I'm very real. No one I'm talking to feels real. It's not three-dimensional.
Right.
It's all kind of in a haze. When God gets very, very anchored in reality, then all of a sudden it reflects. And it's the same thing. When we care and we're engaged and we can check in, like, how am I feeling in relation to God? I'm not feeling it. That's going to spill over to everything else.
Everything, right. Because we're taught that God is the only reality.
God is the foundation of all reality.
Everything that's not God
Isn't.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. I think we covered that.
We did.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you guys. And please give us feedback. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Boom.